or missed anything interesting. And I kind of expected, I don't think, maybe didn't expect like everyone to be incredibly still on the high they were when Conte was appointed. But I must admit, I was quite surprised at how kind of low the replies were. The replies were all like, "You've missed nothing. Same stuff, different manager. You haven't missed any shots on goal," and all that. And I get that. I do understand that. I understand that's really frustrating. But, you know, watching kind of from a different viewpoint than I normally do was watching on the TV and or watching the game anyway. I can't remember how I actually did manage to watch it in the end. But yeah, I saw positives. I saw better things than I'd seen in the previous match. Not least the energy levels and all of that. But like I say, the little patterns of play and the way Spurs used the ball, there were quite a few times when clearly Conte has said, no, we're not lumping it forward anymore. None of that. Not just booting it forward and hoping someone knocks it on. You're going to play it out of defence. And there were a lot of times when they looked quite comfortable in doing so, passing around Everton, admittedly in their own half, and that's not the key area right now. Well, it isn't the key area to win matches, but I just thought that for me was quite intriguing. The little triangles, little passing patterns that were happening. Getting out of trouble in their own final, their third, the Tottenham third, and that for me was a big difference. That showed a bit more confidence, possession. I like Spurs as more of a possession team, not one lumping up the pitch and playing percentages, and that I was happy to see. I thought the wing backs, actually, rather than me waffle on about it. Watch Stephen Warnock did a really good. It's on social media. He did a really good analysis of the wing backs on Sky Sports, and it's worth looking at. He went into depth about how the wing back formation they were so high up the pitch, Sergio Reguilón and Emerson Royal, that it actually nullified a lot of what Everton wanted to do, and tactically Everton couldn't really deal with it, and. If on a different day, had Reguilón and Emerson's final ball been better and the front three been far better, they were pretty much none of them were very good at all on Sunday. If that unit of five had been better and their decision making, their final ball had been better, Spurs could have really quite comfortably won that match because Everton didn't really know what to do with it. And with someone like Rafa Benitez, who's a very tactically based manager, gets a lot of plaudits for that. I thought that was really interesting. I thought tactically Conte kind of won the game in that. He won the tactical battle. He didn't win the game, clearly. But yeah, and I just think with more quality, I took positives from that. I did. I thought Reguilón and Emerson both. I thought Emerson did well in a lot of what he did, but still the final third wasn't great for him, and that's something he's got to work on. Reguilón. It was interesting. He did an interview afterwards where he admitted he'd never played as a wing back, so that's something he's got to learn. And I felt he let himself down with the final third stuff a lot. Obviously, there was that great chance Harry Kane set up for him, which on the slide he smashed it over the bar. And there were a few moments. I think his pass percentage, I looked it up when I was writing some stuff on Monday, was around the 60 mark, 62 perhaps, 62% success rate with his passing, which is pretty poor. I think it was the lowest on the entire team. I think it might have even been the lowest on the pitch. So I think if you get more quality from those positions, then suddenly it becomes a very different looking setup as well. And the likes of Kane, Son, and Lucas, all very all good in the air. They can all win their headers, and you get crosses into the box, and not only that, Warnock was very good at showing that actually the wing-back setup allows the wing-backs to suddenly become goal-scoring people as well. And, you obviously, like I say, you had that Reguilón chance where it was crossed and he was at the back post. And then you had Emerson's header from, I think it was Reguilón's cross, which he headed over. It changes the dynamic of your attack. And all of that, to me, I found that fascinating. The whole thing, I was watching that on Sunday, and it's already, and I think that's credit to Conte, within... What were you up to? When he took over Tuesday, didn't he? And he was observing training sessions. So what we got, like 5-6 days worth of work there. And already it was a very different team that had clearly had to take on a lot of new information. And I think, yes, absolutely, everyone has the right, of course, to be frustrated about the lack of, no shots on target. And absolutely, that's incredibly frustrating. And I think a lot of that to do with the quality and maybe confidence levels of some of the players in the attacking roles. But I just thought the team itself was a very different beast. And that was quite heartening to see, because if he can do that with barely any training sessions, then that gives me a lot of hope of how quickly he can change. I did a Q&A. Someone asked me when we'll see for the website, how quickly we'll see the Conte Tottenham. And I said probably into the second half of the season, because he hasn't got a full week of training his players without a match in the middle or an international break until January. But kind of on reflection, the more and more I think about that game and how quickly he changed the way Tottenham were playing, and like I say, more possession-based stuff as well, but also the very different thrust of the width. It might be sooner than that, maybe pre-Christmas, maybe even, in a month's time, you're going to see a very different Tottenham out there. I think a clean sheet, that's a positive as well, of course. I don't want to gloss over that. I thought the defence did well. I thought the much maligned Ben Davies, I thought he did well in that kind of that left-sided role of the back three that he plays well for. He plays that for Wales as well, and I think it does suit him. In terms of the wing-backs, I just want to quickly say, I'm intrigued to see, funnily enough, all the focus is quite rightly on Reguilon and Emerson as the two current holders of those roles. But I've been really intrigued to see, if all goes well for them in terms of injuries and stuff like that and all that, I'd be intrigued to see what happens with Ryan Sessegnon and Matt Doherty. And probably there's people out there just kind of, rolling their eyes when I've said that. But Ryan Sessegnon, I understand he's kind of been back in outdoor training. He's on his way back from so many hamstring problems. I feel so sorry. He's 21 years old and he's just had a mare with them. Often as well, I think it all started with that European Under-21 Championships. He was away with England, and ever since that, just before Spurs signed him, the summer they signed him, and he's just had so many issues with it. But I just wonder whether the left wing-back role, and I like Reguilon, but I do think he's quite raw in a lot of aspects, but I think Sessegnon, funnily enough, is built maybe even more so for the wing-back role. I think Reguilon will get there. I think he will adapt to that, and I think he'll be very good. But for Sessegnon, it's a role he's played before. When he went off to Hoffenheim as well last season on loan, where he did really well, one of the guarantees essentially was that he was going to play at left-back or left wing-back, and he did both roles. And I think Sessegnon is probably better versed in the final third to take on the role as well. He's good at defending, but also attacking-wise. I mean, in the year Fulham came up to the Premier League, he scored 16 goals as like a left winger. So this is a guy who knows how to score goals. He knows how to set up goals. So my hope for him, he's such a good young guy. I've interviewed him as well. Really good chap. Really wants to succeed at Tottenham. But if he can, a bit like Dele, yes, maybe not Dele in terms of what he's done on the pitch, but in terms of his injury, Dele had a lot of hamstring issues and he got over it. It was probably a similar period, maybe 2 years he was struggling with them. And if Ryan Sessegnon can they're patient with him and they bring him through, Davies clearly is going to be more suited towards the back three role. I think Sessegnon could be really good as a left wing back for Tottenham. Really, really good. And it could be the making of his Tottenham career. But it's a big if in terms of getting over those injuries.